Good morning to you. We are tracking breaking news here on Fox 35 News Plus this morning at this hour, 11 o'clock here in Central Florida. Just getting news that a federal judge has blocked Trump's birthright citizenship ban. This is a federal judge in New Hampshire saying that he's going to certify a class action lawsuit that includes all children who would be affected by the president's executive order that would end birthright citizenship. Plans to issue a preliminary injunction blocking it. This was an announcement made at the end of an hour-long hearing today. As we understand it, this judge is expected to issue a written order later today that will have some more details on this. Obviously, expect the federal government, the Trump administration, to appeal this decision. Now, this comes shortly after the Supreme Court of the United States kind of took issue with some of the previous injunctions and the way things have been done with that. And so from federal district court judges in this specific case, when it comes to birthright citizenship, not this specific case out of New Hampshire, but with this specific issue, I should say, didn't rule on the merits of the birthright citizenship case and kind of leaves that door open. So still a lot of questions about what this means, where things go from here. We will continue to track this throughout the day, but wanted to get you that breaking news just into our newsroom that a federal judge has blocked Trump's birthright citizenship ban. And this applies to all infants impacted by that order. So we will continue to track that throughout the day. Well, good morning and welcome to Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Weimer, and thanks for joining us here live on Fox Local and on YouTube. I want to let you know some of what we've got going on for you over this next hour and give you a live look right now at downtown Orlando and Lake Eola there. Beautiful start to the day here on this Thursday. We'll have your latest forecast coming up in just a little bit. We are also going to have the story of 4 rare dolphins recently rescued in Clearwater. They were just introduced today at Clearwater Marine Aquarium and got the chance to meet them. We will introduce you to them coming up a little bit later in the show. Last night, residents in Brevard County had the chance to voice some of their worries and concerns about Starship, the SpaceX Starship that is expected to move to the Space Coast. There was a public hearing last night, a lot of public comment in that. We will hear some of what the folks are worried about coming up in just a little bit. We also heard from 2 Central Florida congressmen who are in town today, U.S. Representatives Maxwell Frost and Darren Soto, speaking today in Orlando just a little bit ago, talking about their concerns over Medicaid cuts and what that means for folks in the community. So we will hear from them in just a little bit. But we begin this morning with Kissimmee Police Chief speaking this morning and marking 100 days since he took that office. He replaced an interim chief who replaced the previous chief who resigned. You may remember back in October, all kind of amid this fallout from a use of force incident and botched investigation into that. 13 members of the police department ended up facing disciplinary action in connection with that incident. We learned recently that 3 resigned, 4 were fired, 2 demoted, 3 suspended, and 1 was exonerated. So the new police chief, Charles Broadway, previously the police chief in Claremont, he spoke today marking this 100 days, talking about some new initiatives in place, talking about a focus on transparency and kind of rebuilding that trust and relationship with the community there in Kissimmee. Here is some of what the Chief Broadway had to say in his remarks just a few minutes ago.
The city of Kissimmee, as your chief of police for the past 100 days, time definitely flies. From the very beginning, I made a commitment to lead with purpose, guided by the belief that leadership is not just about words or titles. Leadership is not about these stars on my collar. It's about actions and decisions that uplift others, encourage others, inspire others, challenge others, help others become better. Together with the men and women of the Kissimmee Police Department, we have embraced a shared mission rooted in 3 pillars. Number 1 is building a culture of trust, accountability, and officer well-being, ensuring that we prioritize the overall well-being and health and wellness of our personnel. Strengthening community partnerships through community policing and engagement. understanding that we are more effective when we work together with our community to reduce crime, prevent crime, and enhance quality of life for all. And then our number one priority is providing the highest level of public safety to ensure safe cities, safe city and safe communities. These are the blueprints of how we show up every single day and every single night. Over the past 100 days, we've laid a stronger foundation for the future, driven by transparency, innovation, and community-centered policing. An effective department begins from within. It's with a culture that supports its personnel, supports its people, along with demanding integrity. In our first 100 days, we are launching Readiness to Lead, a leadership training initiative for all personnel serving in supervisory roles. This role will be an engaging, hands-on workshop focused on key leadership competencies essential for navigating today's challenges in law enforcement and public safety. We promoted 9 members of the department to leadership ranks, from corporal to sergeant, lieutenant, captain, deputy chief, a record supervisor, demonstrating our belief in developing and nurturing talent from within. I hired a new assistant police chief, expanding our leadership team and bringing fresh vision and operational expertise. We expanded access to overall wellness programs, including mental health resources, peer support networks, physical wellness opportunities, and we are starting a new chaplaincy program. Interesting fact, studies have shown that the average person experiences 3 to 5 critical incidents in their lifetime, whereas a law enforcement officer could experience more than 100 critical incidents over their career. As law enforcement leaders, it is incumbent upon each and every one of us to continue to prioritize and value the overall health and wellness of our personnel. We will also be swearing in real soon a therapy dog and issuing a therapy dog the oath of office. Therapy dogs have been known to reduce heightened short-term anxiety following a critical incident. These dogs have also been proven to effectively help first responders manage long-term post-traumatic stress. Our therapy dog will also help us enhance our community engagement efforts within our community as well. I'm a firm believer in healthy agencies cultivate healthy officers who in turn build healthy communities. We've reviewed and updated internal accountability processes to ensure consistent standards are upheld with clarity and fairness. Policing is most effective when it is highly visible and collaborative and rooted in trust. In these first 100 days, we have created new opportunities for community engagement, community interaction, including our first ever inaugural Hoops with Heroes youth basketball camp, which will be held at the end of July, reaffirming our commitment to youth membership or youth mentorship and youth engagement to ensure that our children's first interaction with law enforcement is one of a positive one and that's lasting. We will be teaching our young kids fundamentals in basketball, but also fundamentals in life and leadership and character and good morals. From newsletters to Coffee with a Cop to Cram the Cruiser and other neighborhood-based outreach efforts. Our Citizens Police Academy is starting September 3rd of this year to afford community members an opportunity to get inside look of what our men and women do every single day to serve and to protect this community. I'm assured that you will be impressed in what you see during the Citizens Academy. We've increased our presence in neighborhoods and at civic events and local forums and faith-based organizations, continuing to build strong community relationships that help prevent crime before it even occurs. We gained approval from the City Commission to establish a police oversight board, reinforcing our department's commitment to transparency and police accountability. We will produce an annual report, which will be released January of 2026. This annual report will be a snapshot and an overview of the calendar year of 2025. It will contain public education and awareness, crime tips, awards and recognition of our men and women, crime stats, use of force incidents for the year of 2025, and the conclusion or the disposition of those use of force incidents. It will also entail the number of complaints that come into our agency, as well as the disposition of those complaints. Again, just being more and more transparent with our community. At the core of our mission, the number one priority will always be keeping Kissimmee safe for every resident, business owner, and visitor. In our first 100 days, we have implemented smarter, data-driven patrols, intelligence-led policing, high crime areas to increase visibility and improve response times. We continue to strengthen our collaboration with the State Attorney's Office to ensure effective prosecution of criminal offenses. We revamped our plainclothes unit to really enforce drug activity and illegal drug trafficking. We are going to partner with the Osceola County Sheriff's Office and St. Cloud Police Department to act as a force multiplier to proactively address illegal narcotic sales, prostitution, and human trafficking. We are launching a new drone program to enhance our investigative capabilities, increase our situational awareness, assist us in identifying and apprehending those wanted for crimes, as well as locating endangered and missing children and adults. We've enhanced our officer readiness and tactical training, including expanding crisis intervention, de-escalation training techniques and practices to ensure that our officers respond with professionalism and show empathy. This is just the beginning. We are building something together, something worthy of our trust that our community places in us. I remain committed to continue the momentum set in motion, set by my predecessor, Robert Enzueto from the Orange County Sheriff's Office, and involving our department to meet the needs of a growing, vibrant city. The Kissimmee Police Department will continue to lead with transparency, be accountable to our community, be accountable to one another, and show up with integrity and purpose every single day and every.
And you heard a number of new initiatives and procedures, some policies and those kinds of things in place, some steps being taken there that he outlined in his first 100 days there. We're going to take a quick break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we will be right back with more after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. We appreciate you joining us. I'm Garrett Weimer, and good to see you on this Thursday morning. We heard from a couple of Florida congressmen this morning. Congressman Maxwell Frost, a Democrat from Florida's 10th District, and Congressman Darren Soto as well, a Democrat who represents Florida's 9th District. They were holding a roundtable this morning at Orange Blossom Family Health in Orlando and talking about their concerns about the impact from the big, beautiful bill recently passed by the legislature, by Congress, specifically talking today about what Medicaid cuts mean for these federally qualified health centers that provide care to Central Floridians, specifically those who are on Medicaid. They said they are concerned about folks losing access to health care. They are concerned that some of these cuts could lead to these local clinics shutting down as well. They held a roundtable discussion and were talking about a number of their concerns about that, saying that they believe maybe nearly 2 million Floridians could lose health care with those cuts scheduled to hit in 2027. We had the chance to speak with them before that roundtable one-on-one. They also talked about the alligator Alcatraz and an upcoming visit this weekend. Here's Congressman Soto and Frost.
And right now we're here at Orange Blossom, one of our great federally qualified health centers. At these health centers, they're going to see disproportionately people who are on Medicaid and people who are uninsured. And so in many cases, a lot of these clinics, the way they're able to operate is because of programs like Medicaid. And so we came here to speak with the folks who run this one, but also other ones across the district and across Central Florida to know what the impact is going to look like for our people here.
Once hearing their voices, you're going to go back to where you put laws into order and that type of stuff. Will there be like future things that we can do to help in those situations?
Yeah, the hope is that we can take this information, and this is what our office does all the time. We host roundtables with people directly impacted. We'll hear about their stories, hear about the impact. We take this information, bring it to DC, either write laws or figure out how we can bring back money to help solve the problem. This is a really huge bill, right? 17 million people losing health care, millions of people. I was just driving over here, I passed by Second Harvest Food Bank. Millions of people are going to lose their nutritional assistance, food assistance. We're talking about WIC and SNAP. So it's going to have a devastating impact on our people. And the whole reason they passed this bill is to give billionaires and mega corporations a permanent tax cut. Yeah, I mean, my message is, number one, our goal, hopefully, is to take back the House at the end of next year. So when we go back to Congress and we're passing another budget, we can use that leverage to help reduce the harm in this. I mean, so many people are going to lose their benefits. So many people are going to lose what's keeping them healthy right now. And the fact of the matter is, if you're on Medicaid, most people on Medicaid don't work, can't work. Children, seniors, people who are very sick, people with disabilities. And this is a system that's been working. There's always problems, but the fact that they want to take away health care from millions of people just to give a tax cut to people who have enough money, I think is abhorrent. And so I'm honored to be here at Orange Blossom because we're going to be talking about what that impact looks like with the people who do this work day to day, the people who keep Central Florida healthy. We know the healthcare system in this country is broken. We don't have a healthcare system. We have a sickness care system where people are not able to really, engage in preventative health. Most people find themselves in the hospitals, and then that's the top form of bankruptcy in this country, which is medical debt. We have a huge problem, and what Donald Trump just did is made it even worse by kicking 17 million people off the healthcare. And get this, it doesn't even hit until right after the midterm elections. Right? They didn't want the impact to hit before people went to vote. I mean, it's some evil stuff. And so that's why we're here, because it's one thing for me to talk about it, and I know all the facts and figures, but the stories, that's what really matters. And hearing from people who actually do the work, that's what's going to help me go to DC and fight on behalf of our people.
Folks who get kid care, like our young people, nursing homes, so our seniors are going to face a lot of cuts as well. We also see cuts to Obamacare, and we have the most enrollment of any state. And so this will affect millions of people. We need to elevate their stories. So hopefully we could stop some of this damage next term if we're able to take the majority.
What do you hope comes from the discussions today, or what do you expect?
Hearing numbers like that, nearly 2 million Floridians will lose their health care, sounds awful. But without the stories of each of these individual folks who are affected, it still is unreal to some folks. And so we're going to make sure seniors, children, veterans, the disabled, real Central Floridians who will be hurt by this will have their stories heard, and we need to build popular support to make sure that we can do the things we need to in Washington to protect health care here in Central Florida.
Do you have a message for Floridians that are being impacted by this bill?
Well, it's a law right now.
Oh,
so,
yes, sorry.
Yeah. No problem. It makes a big difference. It's for real now.
Yeah.
For those Central Floridians who potentially can lose their health care under this law, we will fight for you. We will elevate your stories. We will take them to the halls of Congress, and we'll do everything we can. Nearly 2 million people losing their health insurance, second most of the nation, shows that this is for Central Florida and for Florida. And in the SNAP cuts, 25% cuts to food assistance across the nation. We have about 15% enrollment in our district, similarly across Central Florida. We can't let kids go hungry in Central Florida either, and so these are the types of issues we're going to be laser focused on.
Congressman, pivot. I know this weekend they're going to have you sent out to Alligator Alcatraz. Tell us more about the whole invitation, and you guys can't really go out there when you want to, and all in that whole situation.
We had planned a secret visit this weekend to Alligator Alcatraz to get the real story on what's going on down there. And the state apparently found out, and now they're doing an open call to the congressional delegation, and I believe state legislators too. I'll be attending that tour to see firsthand, but we know this is going to be a sanitized version. Look, Alligator Alcatraz is a dumb gimmick. It's in a floodplain. It puts our federal officers, our National Guard, and ICE detainees in danger. We have places like the Orange County Jail where they're doing the best job they can under the circumstances. I remain deeply concerned about a specific targeted attack on the Hispanic community, especially young Hispanic males in our area whose only crime is wanting a better life here in the United States. They're helping our economy in construction, in tourism, in service industry, in agriculture, doing a lot of jobs that a lot of other Central Floridians don't want to do. And the result is going to be a worse economy, higher prices, and hurting small businesses as they kick out so much of our workforce here.
And Congressman Soto and Frost also expected to speak at another event together here in just a little bit in Orlando. We are going to take a quick break here on Fox 35 News Plus. We'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Weimer, and thanks for joining us on this Thursday morning, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. It was a packed house last night inside a public meeting where folks who live in Brevard County were talking about their concerns about Starship, SpaceX's Starship, coming to the Space Coast. This was the first in a series of public meetings being held, and last night those residents, those neighbors, were able to learn more about the proposal to bring Starship to Florida's Space Coast. They were also able to offer public comment and voice those concerns and those worries that they have. Now, some of what they said their main worries are not just about the noise, but also the impact on commercial fishing, the seafood industry, also potential damage to their homes from sonic booms, from the vibrations from the launches as well. We heard from a number of folks last night speaking and voicing their concerns. Here's some of what they had to say at that public meeting.
I certainly support launches related to national security, but these commercial launches in the middle of the night, where's my paycheck? My sleep is valuable to me, and what is it doing to our children? When they get alerted and launched out of bed, which is happening, their anxiety levels, has that been studied? Have there been any human studies done? An environmental impact statement, not only should it affect, the fish samples, cetaceans, dolphins can, the noise, a baby dolphin will be deaf if with that kind of sound impact. And, the Falcon is something that the other FAA environmental impact statement was to increase it to 120 from 50. So if that's 120 of the Falcon plus 76 of a Starship Super Heavy, we're talking every other day we're getting launched out of bed, sonic booms.
I'm a third-generation commercial fisherman from Brevard County. I've fished up and down this coastline my entire life. My father has also. We provide fresh Florida seafood to Americans, and we're interested in what's going to happen to our industry, the days that we're going to be put out from not being able to go offshore. And we've already been put out quite a bit already with SpaceX and throughout the years. We're wondering about what's going to happen with the fish themselves and how this is going to affect them all the way down. I live in South Brevard, and we can definitely hear the rockets now go off depending on the wind direction. And how many days is this going to affect our fishing from Sebastian all the way to Cape Canaveral to Daytona Beach and Chris Benson, all these different fishery places that we do fish. And we need to know what's going to happen to us and how you guys are going to take care of the fishermen and our fish houses that depend on our fish and the American public that eat our fish.
Some areas, including residential neighborhoods and schools, experiencing LA max values of 90 to 100 dBA. This is almost like having a jet engine, listening to that. For individuals with sensory disabilities, including autism spectrum disorder, PTSD, noise sensitivity, exposure to these sound levels are not merely startling. It can be physically painful and may trigger panic attacks, meltdowns, or neurological distress. Can the environmental assessment include a dedicated analysis for effects on vulnerable populations, particularly children and adults with sensory processing conditions? Additionally, can it incorporate cumulative exposure modeling to account for the frequency and intensity of the repeated launch events as opposed as a single launch event, how it is described today? Regarding the structural impacts, approximately 95% of homes in Brevard County were built before 2005. These may not have current structural and wind-borne debris standards. Can the environmental impact include empirical models or field data quantifying the risk of cosmetic or structural damage, such as cracked walls, windows, ceiling damage at various distances from the site? And finally, has a consideration been given to older homes, mobile homes, and buildings with known vulnerabilities, like unreinforced masonry, which may respond differently to repetitive acoustic and vibrational stress produced by Starship launches? Thank you.
and I live in Cape Canaveral. I moved here in 1995, and then I said to myself, I think I could get a job at the Cape. That would be really interesting. I'm a biological scientist, and I worked at the Cape for 21 years in the Natural Resources Department. I retired last year, and meanwhile, for these 21 years, we all worked very hard to support the endangered species, threatened species, and just even the species that occupied that environment. We improved the habitat, and I'm afraid that those efforts are for naught. I really believe that this operation is going to happen, no matter what we say or do. That's just my pessimistic outlook. The other effect is that I live in Cape Canaveral, and I've been launched out of bed. My cats have been launched out of bed and under the bed, and it's just on and on and on. And nobody's looking at the cumulative impact. We've got, 70 launches for the Falcon 9. Then we're going to have however many with this Super Heavy, which is, 5 to 10 times more thrust than a Saturn V. I mean, this is big stuff, and it's going to launch us all out of bed. What's it going to do to our houses? I don't want to have to move. I don't want to have to sell. I own this house. It's my dream house right down the street from the beach, and it looks like everybody else here has that same outlook for their dream home. But it's inconvenient, it's obnoxious, and it's going to get more and more increased, and I just don't see it being the right place. When the space program started in the 50s, Brevard County, the whole county had less than 100,000 people. I think the census last year in 2024, it's now 600,000 people in Brevard County. And you want to bring this big rocket here? It does.
That was just some of the folks who spoke. We heard from a number of other people as well, including several more commercial fishermen, all voicing their concerns. We should note that under this proposed plan, SpaceX would redevelop an existing launch site and make that where they would do those Starship launches. You may remember this comes on the heels of several failed test flights of Starship as well, with the explosions, the different issues that they've had, some at launch. The last one when they were just doing a ground test and a lot of issues with that. It also uses what's called a Super Heavy rocket that is much more powerful than the Falcon 9s that are used for most of the SpaceX, like Starlink launches and those kinds of things. We're going to take a quick break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back. So keep it here on Fox Local and on YouTube. Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Brooks Garner joins me now. And Brooks, we're kind of locked in this pattern right now with this heat and humidity and some storm chances out there.
We sure are. It's that classic July setup here in Central Florida. A look at the beach right now. There's not much in the way of waves, but there is still a moderate risk for rip currents with a 2 to 3 foot swell and temperatures rapidly warming from the mid 80s to highs close to 90 on the water. We've got a water temperature right now of 81 degrees, a moderate risk for rip currents. Overall, pretty decent beach day, but make sure after 4 o'clock you keep a very close eye to the horizon for developing clouds and thunderstorms, because we do have a chance, especially after 5 p.m. at the beach. 94 will be the high today in Orlando, 93 in Bushnell. A hot day with a feels like temperature of about 105 to 107 degrees, just below heat advisory criteria, so take it easy, you know the drill. Well, today we've got a lower chance for rain than what we saw yesterday. There will still be some isolated heavy thunderstorms with the possibility of damaging wind gusts as well as lightning. A lot of lightning like we saw yesterday. So much lightning yesterday. We may see a repeat performance today. That's thanks in part to a little bit of dry air in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. But the highest storm chance will be east of I-4 to include Seminole, Orange, Brevard, and Osceola counties, but favoring Brevard and Osceola counties from Titusville to Melbourne, and then west toward Yeehaw Junction. Looks like the storm chances will dissipate this evening, and then we're going to look ahead to a higher rain chance as we head into the weekend. In fact, we've got a slug of tropical air moving in from the Bahamas. That'll translate into a 60% chance for rain tomorrow and Saturday, and then a 70% chance for rain Sunday and Monday. It's not going to rain all day, but it will bring a chance for rain all day after about 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. Well, no tropical activity to report out there. It has been very crickets quiet out there in the tropics. One of the reasons is we've had a lot of wind this year in the Caribbean. That is winds that tear storms apart. And that's why yesterday Colorado State University updated their seasonal hurricane outlook, as they do once a month throughout the hurricane season. And they've dropped it by 1 storm. Still forecasting an above normal season. Our average named storms, tropical storms 14, they're forecasting 16. Our average hurricanes, we get about 7. They're forecasting 8. So a slightly above normal season, but lower than their initial forecast back in April of 17 named storms and 9 hurricanes. So I guess that's some good news, but unfortunately it doesn't mean much because it only takes 1 hurricane hitting where you live to make it one of the worst hurricane seasons ever, right? So hopefully we can avoid that fate this season. Certainly Florida deserves a break from any kind of landfalls this year. We've had 3 in the last 4 years, 3 major hurricanes, I should say, in the last 4 years, with several non-major hurricanes. It's just been incredible, Garrett, when you think about how we've gone at times decades without any kind of major impacts, and all of a sudden we've got this swarm of big hurricanes. Looking ahead at the 7-day forecast, a likely chance of rain early this weekend, becoming much more likely as we head into early next week.
Well, I think you're right about that, talking about the hurricane season, hoping for a little bit of a break for us here this year. So
just a bit.
Yeah, it would be helpful. Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Brooks Garner, we appreciate you joining us.
My pleasure as always. Thank you, Garrett.
As we go to break here on Fox 35 News Plus, leave you with this view of downtown Orlando. It is shaping up to be a pretty day so far, but we're going to be feeling that heat and humidity. And again, lower storm chances today, which we always like to hear. Keep it right here on Fox Local and YouTube. We'll be right back in 2 minutes.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I want to take you now to a story out of Clearwater where we were just introduced to 4 rescued rough-toothed dolphins. These are a rare species of dolphins. Apparently, according to NOAA researchers, they say there's just 6,900 of them in U.S. waters, and most of them roam the deep Pacific near Hawaii. Now, Clearwater Marine Aquarium here in Florida, the only facility in the country, we're told, that is caring for these rare species on the mainland. And they recently were able to rescue 4 stranded dolphins, and they say 3 of them are actually deaf. Their names are Doris, Catania, Dagny, and Rin, and we were introduced to them in a virtual news conference just a little bit ago. We're going to hear from Kelly Martin, who is the VP of Zoological Care with Clearwater Marine Aquarium.
We are a small nonprofit facility that really focuses our mission work on rescue, rehabilitation, and release. And in some cases, during the rehabilitation process, animals are deemed non-releasable. That means that the governing agencies see that they don't possess the necessary skills or ability to survive and thrive out in their natural environment. What happens next? Well, they come here. This is our forever home. And you can see we take pretty good care of the animals who really share their rescue stories of resilience and aims and hope to inspire our guests each and every day to do better for not only the marine species that you see here, but the ecosystems in which they come from. This story in particular is about 4 individuals who were rescued, rehabilitated, and deemed non-releasable, and were living at the Gulf World Marine Park up in Gulf World, Florida, in Panama City, Florida. And unfortunately, they were in an aging facility, and Clearwater Marine Aquarium was called upon because we have decades of experience in the rescue rehabilitation work and really the forever care that it takes to maintain this rough-tooth species. So you can see them behind me. We have Hope playing with the water hose. She's a common bottlenose dolphin. And then over to the other side of me, we have some of the rough-tooth species, appropriately named. They have very rough teeth. They're very long and slender. Some of our guests say they almost look prehistoric. And these animals have a very dark back and light underbelly, all which are adaptations for this particular species, who really is found out offshore. So they're found out in the deep waters, out in the Gulf. And you probably wouldn't see them if you were out on a boat, unless you were hundreds of miles offshore. Well, Clearwater Marine Aquarium is one of the only facilities that you can actually see this species, and we invite you to come visit these animals. These 4 dolphins in particular, Doris, Dagny, Katana, and Ren, ranging in age from 28 all the way down to 5, were brought to our facility on June 4th. And the transport, it takes quite a bit of collaboration. We worked with Gulf World Marine Park, governing agencies. We made sure we adhered to best practices. And very quickly, in a matter of a week, we were able to transport these dolphins from North Florida down here to Clearwater Beach, in which they first acclimated together in the Ruth and J.O. Stone Dolphin Complex. Our dolphin complex, you can see a portion of it behind me. It actually consists of about 1.5 million gallons of salt water and 5 interlocking pools. And these animals can move all throughout the system. There are amazing underwater views for our guests to see these animals. There's also topside viewing, in which we share these animals with our guests through interactive and educational presentations that happen throughout the day. Once these 4 dolphins acclimated quite successfully, which was about a week, we decided to introduce them to our own resident dolphins, Rosie and Rudy and Hope. And as you can see behind me, they're thriving, they're having fun. They interact every single day with not only one another, but also with the team who's responsible for caring for them day in and day out. I think winter actually set Clearwater Marine Aquarium out to the world. I loved Winter. She was an amazing animal. She was resilient. She was a dolphin that honestly really took a while before you built a relationship. And once you had that connection, you knew in that moment that you had a forever bond with that animal. And from that point forward, there was a lot of trust. She shaped how we interact with our animals, but really to the rest of the world, she inspired folks to do better, to be better, to protect marine species, to remain resilient, to share their stories, and connect. You know, I really think that winter was an inspiration and allowing us to connect. And all of these things allow us at Clearwater Marine Aquarium to embody our mission of rescue, research, rehabilitation, relief, education, and inspiration. Winter, of course, lost a limb. Again, a story of resilience and an animal who at a very young age learned how to act and interact in her new environment and thrive really in this new environment. Every animal here has this really amazing story to share. Every animal has undergone some sort of disability or some circumstance that doesn't allow them to be able to survive. So Hope behind me, while there's not an outward and physical disability, she was actually really rescued at a very young age, and she did not have the life skills necessary to survive out into that open ocean. Some of the rough-toothed dolphins that you see behind me are actually deaf. So that hearing impairment doesn't allow them to utilize what is probably one of the most important life skills, echolocation, this ability to see with sound and the ability to find fish. So in that point, or in that respect, you know, they might pass away or expire because of malnutrition. If you can't find food and you're expending a lot of energy trying to find it, those two things don't really work hand in hand. So again, those animals, when they come here, while our animal care team understands how to interact with animals who may not have a disability, we take it to the next level and we provide individualized care for these animals, unique to the individual and the disability that they may be going through.
Well, those rescued and stranded dolphins now certainly seem to be in good hands. Now it looked like they're having a good time there. And she was also talking about Winter, the dolphin, who had lost her tail after it was got tangled in a crab trap line and ended up learning how to swim with a prosthetic tail. It was an inspiring story. Also, the basis for the movie Dolphin Tale, if you have seen that. Winter the dolphin died back in 2021, but you heard her talking about Winter and a number of other things as well. But those four rough-toothed dolphins that were stranded have been rescued and are now on the road to a healthier life. It certainly appears. Well, we are going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back. Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Weimer, and thanks for joining us on this Thursday morning live on Fox Local and on YouTube. Universal already planning the first expansion for Epic Universe. We learned that this week. Going to take part of that dirt lot between the main entrance and Super Nintendo World. According to the permits, it's 40,000 square feet with some vertical construction for a shop, a warehouse, or a restaurant. Now, Epic Universe opened back in May, and we learned that the opening month of that ended up breaking records for Orange County's Tourist Development Tax, the TDT. It was a 5.7% increase from last year, around $30 million in total. Orange County Comptroller Phil Diamond was on Good Day Orlando this morning to talk about the impact of it.
So really, we know this, Phil, is our first look at the Epic impact. 6% spike from last year. That's a big number, 30 million. What was your take when you saw those numbers?
Well, it was huge. It's like you said, it's the best May we've ever had. And that really helps as far as meeting all our budget goals.
Phil, as you know, nearly 2,500 new hotel rooms. And a lot of people, while that's great, you think, can we fill all those? Well, in that report, which is a great report, it's very detailed, 69% occupancy. That's a pretty high number.
That is a high number. And it just shows people are still coming to Orlando. It's still a place people want to go to. And I think it really shows the strength of the Orlando tourism market.
Phil, you mentioned the budget before. Obviously, this fluctuates a lot. We are in really good times right now. Is Orange County still on pace for maybe breaking the fiscal year record?
Yeah, I think we are. We're, I think, 13 or 14. We were 13 or 14 million dollars ahead of where we were targeted to be. And I think you're going to see the full impact of Epic next month, because June is a full month of Epic. May was only about 9 or 10 days. So you're going to get the full hit from it in June. And we're our year, unlike yours, ends in September. So I think we're definitely on target to meet where we're going and even exceed it.
Yeah, it's Happy New Year in Orange County in August, which is a little bit different as well. Let's talk about, for Phil, people that don't know, this is a 6% bed tax that goes to Airbnbs. It goes to all the hotel rooms, which are growing, and then it is funneled into that budget, which is used for a variety of projects, going from the convention center to other tourism-related projects.
Yeah, that's right. It goes for a lot of things, and it goes for things that people don't want to see their property taxes used for, things like operating and building or reconstructing the convention center, or paying for tourism advertising, or paying for some of the sports venues. It helps pay for arts venues like the Performing Arts Center or other art facilities around town. So it does a lot, and the nice thing is it's not our property taxes going for that stuff.
It is good for sure. Let me ask you this, Phil. How are the numbers reported to you, and do you see the same big hotels reporting big numbers each month? How specific can you look at those actual numbers?
Oh, I get hotel by hotel information. I actually can see what every single hotel does, whether it's the Royal Pacific or the Swan Hotel or any other hotel. We get all that information. Hotel by hotel by hotel. We also get the total of all the Airbnbs that are in town. It's very detailed, and it really provides some insights. Unfortunately, I can't share that hotel by hotel information with you, even if you promise to keep it a secret.
Right, and you know that was my next question, Phil, so I'm glad you stopped me right there and didn't tip. Amy was scribbling something here. She wanted me to ask. Phil, great information. I'm sure that once you get the report, you can go through so much. So it's really good news for Orange County and all the money that it goes for. So as always, appreciate you being with us, Phil.
You bet, Ryan. Good to see you all.
And here is a live look there. You can see Super Nintendo World in the background, the portal as well, some other parts of Epic Universe there. Interesting that May, as you heard him say, even with just kind of a month or a week and a half in that month of May, still able to break those records. It's going to be interesting to see what things are looking like when those June numbers are released, but certainly seeing that impact already from Epic Universe and its opening. Let me give you a live look right now again from our Launch Credit Union camera, where along the Space Coast in Brevard County, and I want to let you know about some space things happening this afternoon. Coming up at noon, there will be a news conference from Mission Control, actually, in Houston, Texas, where we're going to hear a mission overview about NASA's SpaceX Crew-11. It will be a Dragon spacecraft that will take this crew up as part of the Commercial Crew program. They will do a rotation on the International Space Station. They're scheduled to go up late this month or early next month. No official date has been set yet, but we may learn a little bit more about that today in this news conference coming up at noon that we will bring you right here on Fox Local. The mission leadership going to talk about final launch, mission preparations, that kind of thing. Again, that news conference happening from Johnson Space Center in Houston. And then at 2 o'clock, we will hear from the crew. There are 2 NASA astronauts, Zena Cardman and Mike Fincke. There's a Japanese astronaut and a Russian cosmonaut as well, all part of this crew that will launch from Space Launch Complex 39A when that launch does happen. So that is, we'll be standing by for that this afternoon as well. So keep it right here on Fox Local. We've got a lot more to come. And then I'll be back here at 2 o'clock with Florida Live, or we'll be here as sooner as if needed for some breaking news. So keep it here on Fox Local. Much more to come. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you in a bit.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Rocket Tranquility, we copy you on the ground.
New possibilities are opening up for scientific cooperation between countries.
1-0. Liftoff. Americans return to space as Discovery clears the tower.
Discovery, go and throttle up.
Discovery, roger. Go for deploy.
Everybody in the shuttle program, the crew is go for launch.
Roger. Nice to be in orbit.
We have followed in their footsteps to get us where we are today.
Good morning and welcome to NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. I'm Joseph Zakshevsky with NASA Communications, and this morning we're here to discuss the next crew rotational mission to the International Space Station, Crew-11. We have leaders from NASA, SpaceX, and JAXA to join today's discussion, and we'll start with opening remarks and then open up the room to the phone bridge to answer questions. For those that are tied in online, you can tie in by joining the question and answer session, and members of the media by pressing *1 to be added. If your question is already addressed throughout today's conversation, you can withdraw your question by pressing *2. Joining us today are Ken Bowersox, the Associate Administrator of NASA's Space Operations Mission Directorate, tying in from Washington and NASA headquarters. Steve Stitch, joining me just to my left, Manager of the Commercial Crew Program. And next to him is Bill Spetch, Operations Integration Manager of the International Space Station Program. Also tying in is Sarah Walker, Director of Dragon Mission Management with SpaceX, and Mayumi Matsura, Vice President and Director General of Human Spaceflight Technology Directorate with JAXA. We'll go ahead and toss over to Mr. Bowersox for today's opening remarks.
Today, we really appreciate the interest that you show in our low Earth orbit missions, the exciting science that we do, the research that we do there that helps prepare us to move out to the moon and onto Mars. We've got a great crew on this mission. All of our crews are great, but I think this one's especially notable. We've got two rookies, Zena Cardman and Oleg Platonov, and then we've also got two folks who've flown before, Kimiya and Mike Fincke. They'll be heading up to station here pretty soon. It's hard to believe we've had crews up there for over 25 years now, or close to 25 years. The station's been up there over 25 years. In October, we'll hit 25 years for continuous human presence on orbit. That's going to be a huge milestone, a great testament to the work of our commercial partners, our international partners, and the whole NASA team. The Crew-11 crew will join the 73 crew on orbit. AX-4's up there with them now. They'll be coming home soon. That opens up some space for Crew-11. And then after Crew-11's been there a little while, has some handover time, the Crew-10 will come home and we'll get to welcome them back here on Earth. As we're doing all this work, it's incredibly busy. It's an incredibly busy time for NASA. It's impressive to watch our team and how they focus on flying these missions safely. I know we can count on them to do their job, and that we'll get to see our crews here on orbit pretty soon doing their part to conduct research and prepare us for the next phase of exploration. And now I want to turn it over to Steve Stitch, our Commercial Crew Program Manager.
Thanks, Ken, and thank you all for being here today, and thank you for your interest in human spaceflight and the Commercial Crew Program. You know, it is kind of hard to believe the launch of Crew-11 is just around the corner. It's about 3 weeks away. We're currently targeting no earlier than July 31st for the launch of Crew-11 off of Pad 39A at the Kennedy Space Center. So again, 3 weeks from today. That launch time would be about 12:09 p.m. Eastern, so it's a nice daytime launch, just a little after lunchtime. Docking would set us up. It's a longer transit time. This is a 39-hour launch to dock, so we would dock about 3 a.m. Eastern on August the 2nd. We'll watch that time closely. We have a limit of about 40 hours or so of ability to sustain the crew on the way to station when we protect all the consumables for contingencies. So we'll watch that really carefully. There's some station reboosts coming up, and if we trip over that limit, we would go to the backup day 1 day later on August 1st. We have a good series of launch opportunities in the July-August timeframe. We'll have backups on August the 1st, the 2nd, and the 3rd. And then we would have to stand down on August the 4th. That's a long phasing. Then we would get another sequence of 3 days after that. So we have a good sequence of launch opportunities coming up. Of course, we're working with the station program, watching the Axiom 4 mission, carefully. Obviously, we need to undock that mission. I think the current targeted time is to undock around the 14th of July after the high beta period. It's a busy time frame. This mission, we originally were planning this mission, Crew-11, to fly in the August time frame, mid-August. We've accelerated that. If you just look holistically at the manifest for this year, Commercial Crew Program has accelerated this mission by a couple of weeks to allow a critical reboost flight to occur on CRS-33, and I know Bill will talk more about that. So Commercial Crew is trying to do whatever we can to optimize the station manifest. We're very excited to fly our Dragon Endeavor for the 6th time, and we've been working on that certification as well. So this is the same vehicle that we flew 5 years ago, Bob and Doug on Demo 2, and it's really interesting to believe that it's now on its 6th flight. I was able to talk to the crew last week. Zena, Mike, Kimiya, and Oleg, they're very excited. They're prepared for this mission. They got in the Dragon spacecraft last week and put it through its paces right before the July 4th holiday. So they're ready to go. Their suits are in good shape. All the interfaces with Dragon are in good shape. Our team has been working very hard this year. It's been a big year for Commercial Crew in terms of getting to 5X reuse on our Falcon 9 boosters, moving all of our landing operations from the East Coast, from Florida to the Pacific, and then also working on extended Dragon reuse is what we call it. And so we've had to go through and do a recertification effort of Dragon, working hand in hand with SpaceX to get to 6 flights. Some components on Dragon will go up to 15 flights, but we're really working hard to get to the 6th flight of Dragon for Endeavor. Tremendous amount of work. We've looked at over 360 different design units is what we call them. And we're working through that right now. We have a little bit more work to complete, but it looks like that work should close out in time for the launch date. And of course, if we need more time, we can adjust the launch date. Sarah will talk more about Dragon Endeavor. It's doing well. All the components are installed on Dragon. Again, the crew did the test drive last week. Next up is wait in CG this week, and then they'll move Dragon from the Hangar X2 over to Dragonland, and we'll mate the trunk and the Dragon spacecraft, and then get into the fueling operations, not this weekend, but next weekend. And Sarah will talk more about that. This Dragon has a number of upgrades. We continue to try to improve our wrist posture for crew safety, so we have some new upgrades that we're flying on this flight. One of those is a parachute upgrade. Last flight, we flew a new energy modulator, which is a kind of a damping mechanism that is used for the drogues to pull the mains out. On this particular flight, we'll fly for the first time what we call a drogue upgrade, a drogue 3.1. This will strengthen the crown of that drogue parachute with some additional strength. And then we have changed the way it's packaged a little bit to have a more orderly inflation. It flew for the first time on CRS-32, and then we did a series of rocket sled tests at the Navy China Lake facility in June, 3 different tests to deploy that parachute in a simulated environment-like flight. We'll close that work out and certify it and get ready for flight. We also have a new heat shield as well on this Dragon. We've improved the capability of the structure. It's a composite heat shield, and so we have that that we're flying for the first time on Crew-11. The booster's in good shape. It's in the hangar going through its final processing. It's a 3rd flight booster, just flew recently on Axiom 4. That booster maintenance is underway, expected to wrap up in a week or 2. Second stage is there. It's been through static fire at McGregor. parts. That'll be dependent on just timing of the docking itself. As we talked about, there's a little bit of a long phasing there, as well as other things that'll be going on board station to get the appropriate handover between the crews. And then, of course, we'll be watching the weather for that return. We're really looking forward to welcoming the Crew-11 crew, Zena, Mike, Kimiya, and Oleg onto space station. Of course, this is the first flight for Zena and Oleg. As Ken mentioned, this is Mike's fourth trip to. This will be Mike's fourth trip to space, and then Kimiya's second. So it's the first time on Dragon for all of them. Mike has done a flight on a shuttle as well as twice on the Soyuz. So now he gets to add Dragon to his collection of flights. And then Kimiya also flew on a Soyuz before. As you know, this year, and Ken mentioned, we'll be marking that huge milestone of 25 years of continuous human presence on the space station. And this will be the crew that will be on board to mark that milestone for us coming up. As you look at the past 25 years on station, we've really done an amazing amount of work advancing scientific knowledge, demonstrating new technologies, and really doing all of the things that help prepare us for human exploration of the moon and Mars. A lot of the technologies that we've proven out on space station over these 25 years are being used in those next step programs. Through the commercial approach that we've had and the partnership that we've had with SpaceX, these crew rotation missions, we continue to maximize our research and throughput on the vehicle, and really working towards that. And then, of course, the station is critical to prepare for future commercial endeavors in low Earth orbit. We have kind of paved the way in terms of the challenges that we've had to overcome. We've learned a lot of lessons for folks so that we don't have to repeat those and really help the industry stand up a commercial LEO economy. And that really allows us to do the next steps as well, going into Moon and Mars. I'll highlight a couple of the interesting science experiments that we have going on station for Crew-11. This is not an inclusive list by any means, but a couple of really interesting ones to me at least. We have a metal 3D printer, which is an investigation by our ESA colleagues that will run some more runs on board while Crew-11 is there, looking at additive manufacturing or 3D printing of small metal parts in microgravity. Results can improve understanding of the function and performance and operations of metal 3D printing in space, as well as enhance quality, strength, and characteristics of those printed parts. Another interesting one is an experiment called Rhodium Sailing to the Stars. Sailing to the Stars tests the deployment of a light sail inside the International Space Station. Light sails are a technology that uses light photons emitted from the sun to move spacecraft. Results from this investigation could inform improvements in the design of those deployment systems. So they're going to look at how these systems can deploy in microgravity. It gives them a really great chance to go look at that onboard ISS. And then finally, of course, we continue to look at our complement of integrated protocols for human exploration research, or CIPHER, which is looking at varying mission durations for people on board. These studies how astronauts adapt to space over different mission durations, integrating multidisciplinary research to assess physiological and psychological changes that develop, and really to develop those countermeasures that are critical for us to go do the longer duration missions, like a 3-year mission to Mars, if you can imagine. So station has been busy, as we've mentioned a couple times over, right? We have the Axiom 4 private astronaut mission on board today. They've been doing a lot of great work on board, a lot of really exciting public outreach for that crew, as well as science experiments that they've been doing. Today is 14 days on the station, and we're looking forward to welcoming them home soon. As Steve mentioned, we're looking early next week, probably for the first undock opportunity, and we'll look forward to weather and the other factors that play into that decision. Over the weekend, we had over the holiday weekend, we had a progress exchange with our Roscosmos colleagues. 92P launched and then docked on July 5th, carrying about 3 tons of supplies. Then we have, of course, SpaceX 33 coming up, which is a really exciting mission for us. It's providing a new capability for providing reboost of the station, and providing multiple methods for us to maintain the station altitude is critically important as we continue to operate and get the most use out of our resources and our limited launch resources that we do have. So we're really looking forward to demonstrating that capability with SpaceX 33 showing up after we get through the Crew-11 and Crew-10 handover. We have a number of other missions coming up this fall. We have another Progress Exchange in September. We also have our next Northrop Grumman mission, NG-23, will show up this fall with a new extended Cygnus capsule, so providing more capability to us in terms of cargo. As well as, and our JAXA colleagues will mention more about it, the first flight of the new HTV-X transportation vehicle, which is a completely new vehicle in our arsenal to resupply the station that has been under development from our Japanese colleagues. And then finally, we'll get to welcome aboard Chris Williams as part of the Soyuz MS-28 crew in November. So a lot of really busy vehicles, traffic coming and going to the space station. We're going to continue that pace as we go. And then we'll continue to work this great international collaboration. It's fitting we get to talk about our international collaboration here as we come up on Tuesday next week is actually the 50th anniversary of the launch for the Apollo-Soyuz mission. And so really looking back over our collaboration internationally over time and looking from where we started to where we are today, it's really awesome to see where we are. With that, thanks again to everybody who supports the mission here. We really appreciate all the efforts. There's a lot of work that goes into it. As you can see, we're very busy in terms of everything coming up. And with that, I'll turn it over to Sarah.
Thanks, Bill. Well, I say this almost every time, but human spaceflight is core to SpaceX's ultimate mission to make human life multiplanetary. So flying crew safely is always our top priority as a company. And one of the reasons these press conferences for these NASA crew missions are the most fun for me personally. This will be our 11th long-duration crew mission to the ISS through the Commercial Crew Program. It's our 16th human spaceflight mission to the space station in all, and our 49th trip to ISS if you count both crew and cargo missions. So we'll get to round out 2025 with an even 50th visit next month with that cargo mission, CRS-33, that Bill was talking about. We're excited to fly Zena, Mike, Kimiya, and Oleg along with their critical research projects that they're bringing up. And this will be our 5th Dragon mission and 4th human spaceflight mission of 2025. And we're also proud to be a part of Zena and Oleg's first spaceflight as well. Every human spaceflight mission is unique, and this one is certainly no exception. This Dragon spacecraft has successfully flown 18 crew members, representing 8 countries to space already, starting with Bob and Doug in 2020, when it returned human spaceflight capabilities to the United States for the first time since the shuttle retired in July of 2011, which happened to be the week I began at SpaceX. I still remember watching that last shuttle launch, STS-135. I was sitting in a conference room with a very small Dragon team at the time, and it was my first few days here. And I remember looking at the faces around me and thinking, today we begin. The world is counting on us to write the next chapter of human spaceflight, and it's time to get to work, right? So less than a year later, we sent our first Dragon to the spacecraft, or our first Dragon spacecraft to the ISS with a shipment of cargo. And here we are, more than 50 Dragon missions later, with the very first Dragon to carry humans into orbit, now flying its 6th flight, which is more flights than any single Dragon spacecraft has flown before. We're excited for this Dragon, named Endeavour by its first crew, to carry 4 more astronauts to space in a few weeks. This will be the 3rd flight for the Falcon 9 booster, which previously launched a Starlink mission and the AX-4 mission just a week or 2 ago. Peggy and her crew are actually still up on ISS today. It's been fun to follow along on their daily science updates on the Axiom website. And we're starting to look at the weather over here at SpaceX to find the right day to bring them home, likely sometime next week. For Crew-11, the ground teams are currently completing both the spacecraft and the launch vehicle's final integration campaign. And we plan to transport Dragon tomorrow night to our fueling facility to be loaded with propellant before it heads to the hangar next to be mated with the launch vehicle. So Steve already mentioned that we're currently targeting July 31st at 16:09 UTC. That's around noon Eastern time as the first possible launch opportunity. But you've been walking with us long enough to know that, as always, NASA and SpaceX work closely to ensure that all teams and hardware are ready to fly. So we still have multiple reviews and tests ahead of us prior to launch, and each one of those gives us an opportunity to step back, to talk to each other, to review the data, listen to the hardware, and mitigate any risks for a safe flight. So I want to extend a huge thank you to everyone involved, NASA, JAXA, Roscosmos, and the 45th for your partnership as we prepare once again for a mission together. And go Crew-11.
And next, we'd like to welcome Mayumi Matsura, Vice President and Director General of Human Spaceflight Technology Directorate with JAXA.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mayumi Matsura, Vice President for Human Spaceflight and Exploration in JAXA. Thank you for having me today. And first, on behalf of JAXA, I'd like to sincerely thank NASA's leadership, space expert, and all members who are working so hard on Crew-11 mission preparation and continuing ISS operations. I'm going to tell you about a Crew-11 mission from JAXA's standpoint. JAXA astronaut Kimiya Yui is part of Crew-11 members. This is his second mission since 2015. The first highlight we will see during the mission is the reunion of the two JAXA astronauts on the ISS. Takuya Onishi, one of Crew-10 members, and now he is the ISS commander, is waiting for Kimiya and Crew-11 of arrival. And this nice happening is not the first time for Japan. However, it's still a rare case and a great honor. I believe that this is a result of Japan's continued contribution to human activity on ISS, which marks its 50th anniversary this year. Unfortunately, this fun period won't last long, but those gentlemen are both talented, so they must entertain us with something somehow. And their presence will surely give courage to children all over Japan who dream of space. And the second highlight will be by using a drone robot in Kibo. Many young students are going to join in this event from the ground, not only in Japan, but also other countries of Asian Pacific region. Finally, we look forward to working with Kimiya as well as other crew members and all IPs to accomplish those tasks and thereby continue to contribute to the success of ISS program and future space exploration. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you to all of our leaders joining us from NASA, SpaceX, and JAXA here today. We're going to go ahead and open up the floor to the question and answer session. Thank you very much for joining us here, those that are on site. We'll begin with those in the room as our team gets set up. If you do have a question here in the room, please kindly raise your hand, and our team will make our way over to you. And also for those that are joining us online or through the phone bridge, you can use *1 to be added to the queue. If your question has been answered, you can use *2 to redact that. So we'll go ahead and start with our first question here in the room.
Hi there, Miles Dorn with CBS News. For Bill or Ken, maybe, can you give us a status update on the leak in the PRK after the most recent repair work, and kind of explain what the issue was leading up to the Axiom 4 launch and why that was put on hold for a couple of weeks? And what is the current leak rate, and is there agreement with Roscosmos on the cause and the risk going forward? Thanks.
A lot going on in that question to unpack, so I'll try to catch it all. So we prior to the AX4 launch, we did have some operations going on from our Roscosmos colleagues in Paracas, and that resulted in I'll tell you a leak signature difference that we saw. And so as data changes on orbit, we want to assess and go look at that. What it looked like it had done is it had stabilized the leak rate such that we didn't have a great leak rate coming out of the Paracas at that point in time. But we wanted to look at it because we actuate hatches in between the ISS and the Paracas. We wanted to make sure that we understood were there any other factors that could have played into that, which is why we had the discussions that we did and the delays we did. Roscosmos did some troubleshooting on the hatch. And then we had to go look at a couple different pressure levels in the Paracas to confirm the actual the leak across that hatch had been resolved, which it has. And then since then, the Paracas has been holding. Actually, its pressure has been very steady. It's a very small leak rate. It's hard to tell you an exact number because we're at low pressure and it's pretty steady. Pretty small. Sorry. In terms of causes, we continue to work very closely with Roscosmos experts across industry, both on their side and our side, to continue to understand what's going on. I think the teams continue to make great progress in working towards that. And we continue to work with them on a weekly basis to talk through new data results, testing that is ongoing, and continue to share results.
Thank you very much for our question. Back to the room.
Hi, Will Robinson Smith with Spaceflight Now. Question for Steve or for Sarah, perhaps, and then a quick one for Bill. With the certification of Dragon coming up to 6, does that also extend out to the full desire by NASA to have up to 15 flights with Dragon, or is this sort of a mission by mission extension? And then as far as the spacecraft that are coming up to the station in the fall, and it was Dream Chaser was not mentioned among that list. Has that been slotted for a time to dock to the station in early 26, or what's the latest on that? Thank you.
I can start with certification. So when we embarked upon this extended Dragon certification, SpaceX ran testing for many components out to 15 flights, and so many components are out there at 15 flights. There's a few right now that we have only cleared up to the 6th flight, so we track it sort of component by component. In particular, some of the structural components, we're working on the weldment structure, and then some of the orbital tubes. There's tubes that go through Dragon to take helium from the propellant tanks from the helium tank to the prop tanks, and then also propellant tanks. And so some of those are looking like there's 6 or 7 flights. So, our focus here is to really get to this particular launch to make sure that we have everything cleared for 6 flights. And then down the road, we may have a little bit more work to do depending on the specific vehicle and how many flights it is. The overall goal was 15 flights, and we've gotten there on many components. Now we're just down to a handful that really are there for only 6 flights. And I'll see if Sarah has anything to add.
Yeah, good words. I think the metrics are going to shake out that we will be at about 70% of the components that together with your team, Steve, we will have fully certified to 15 flights, and then the other 30% or so, somewhere between 6 and 15, depending on how those reviews went. Our goal was to be 100% qualified, meaning we completed all the tests and analyses on our side to demonstrate 15x life with maybe a few exceptions, but largely the entire vehicle. And so we've been finishing the last 1 or 2 of those tests. The teams have worked great together the last 6 months to work through all of that test data and check off component by component its qualified flight limit. So the primary goal of the day was to fly this 6th flight vehicle, knowing that the ultimate goal is 15x, and we wanted to perform our tests in a way that we were there with the hardware perspective and working towards the reviews with the NASA teams.
Let's hear on the Dream Chaser question. Of course, we all know that space flight is hard, and so when you're coming up to the first flight of a new vehicle, it takes some time. I don't have an update for you on when our planned launch date is for Dream Chaser. We're continuing to work very close with Sierra Space on the development of that vehicle, and we can get an update out at a later time.
Thank you very much for your question. We'll do one more here in the room before going to the phone bridge.
Oh, thank you, Mark Carreau with Aviation Week and Space Technology. My question is, in the aftermath of the signing of the reconciliation bill several days ago, is that easing some of the operational and cost concerns for the rest of the year, at least for space station operations? Is that in play yet, or coming into play, or at least it hasn't interrupted the planning?
I may let Ken answer that one for me, but if he's out there.
I believe that'll be for Mr. Ken Bowerstocks, if he's still with us.
Well, so we have the... Yeah, I'm still here. We have the information in the Reconciliation Act. We're still evaluating how that's going to affect operations going forward, but it's a positive step. The way our appropriations process works, the president makes a proposal, we get information back from Congress in the form of supplemental appropriations, markups, and then the final appropriation. But then that final appropriation bill goes over to the president, and the president signed it, and that becomes the guidance from both the president and the Congress. And we're still working through all of that to figure out how it will completely affect our programs. But it's a positive step.
Thank you very much for that question. We'll turn now to our phone bridge, and we will start things off with Marcia Dunn from AP.
Yes, hello. Probably for Steve, if I might. Is the Crew-11, are you targeting a 6-month mission, or are you going to start following Russians' lead and bumping to 8-month missions to spread things out more? And if you could please provide a Starliner update, any progress on that front, any idea of the exact cause of all the problems, and your what your plans are for moving forward on that. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, we'll start with the first question, the mission duration. So we have embarked upon an additional on-orbit certification to extend our mission durations from 6 months. Actually, it's 210 days is what's the requirement, from 6 to 8 months. And so we have started that work with SpaceX. Right now, we're focused on getting the 15X certification, to get to a 6th flight work done. SpaceX is in the process of delivering the rest of the data for extending the mission out to 8 months. It'll probably take us a month or so to go through that data after we launch. So you can think of it this way, Marshall. When we launch, we have a 6-month mission duration that we baseline. Of course, we've already flown one mission very close to up to 7 months. And then, we can extend the mission in real time as needed, as we better understand, as Ken talked about, the reconciliation bill and the appropriations process and what that means relative to the overall station manifest. So in terms of Starliner, I would say a lot of testing is going on and a lot of modeling updates all across the country. We had a series of helium leaks that we dealt with during the CFT, the crewed flight test. We have various materials in test right now to improve that seal on the helium interface at the flange of the thruster. We know that we get some permeation of oxidizer vapor across, and the seal that we had was not very robust for oxidizer exposure. So there's testing ongoing across the country to expose the new material that's proposed to various levels of oxidizer and understand how much permeation we can get. So that testing's ongoing, likely leading to a new seal that will replace the seals in the thruster flanges. And then on the thrusters that the software deselected because of low thrust, we have a series of tests ongoing as we speak at the White Sands test facility in New Mexico. We have a thruster that we're taking and putting through various numbers of pulse trains. In other words, small pulses and a certain frequency of those pulses, larger pulses at a different frequency, to understand how the thruster responds to those various pulses. And we're learning a lot about the differences in the oxidizer valve temperatures. The thruster has ox that comes in on one side and fuel that comes in on the other. We're learning a lot about the differences in those temperatures as a function of pulse trains. What that will lead to is taking that results of that, informing thermal models, and also doing what we call an integrated doghouse test. That doghouse has been delivered to White Sands. It's in the test stand. That testing and the test stand is being built up to do that testing. That'll involve a series of RCS thrusters being fired at the same time as our OMAC, orbital maneuvering thrusters, to understand the heat going into that doghouse. That testing is scheduled to start next month, toward the end of next month. And so we're making a lot of progress and understanding kind of the thermal performance. These will be informed thermal modeling. And then Boeing has also implemented a series of hardware modifications. And if you're a football player or a baseball player, you kind of have to block out what's out there beyond your control and then focus on what you can control and what our team can control. And our team is incredibly professional, incredibly dedicated. What they can control is getting through the certification work that they have in front of them. And we watch that. We track them every week to week. We also talk to our team about what's going on and the criticality of their work. I think, they know their work really affects the safety of the crew and the success of these missions. I think that's what's important to them. That's what keeps them coming to work every day. And that's what drives them is the work they have and the fulfillment of flying the mission safely. And so I think that's what we do every day with our team. And I'll see if Ken has anything to add.
Yeah, I'll just echo what Steve said. Our teams deal with all the excitement of launches, orbital operations, the incredibly difficult process of doing rendezvous and docking, and then bringing crews home, trying to assess what the weather's going to be like, and then bringing them down in this huge fireball for the parachutes to open. There's tremendous stress just in the basic mission. And so they learn to compartmentalize and focus on their task so that they can make sure that they do what's required so the mission is successful. And our team is really good at that. And it is impressive to watch. I know for me, getting to a mission is kind of a pleasant distraction from all the excitement in DC. And I think it's that way for a lot of the rest of our team members.
Thank you very much for your question. And we'll do one more from the phone bridge. And then as we're starting to make our way on the back end of our time here, and be sure to keep your questions limited to just one and keep them brief. That way we can manage and get as many as we can before our time runs out. Then we'll open it up back here in the room. Any additional questions or follow-ups, please be sure to raise your hand, and our team will be sure to bring a microphone over to you. But back to the phone bridge for Stephen Clark with Ars Technica.
Hi, Stephen Clark, Ars Technica. Thanks for doing this. I have a couple of questions. First, for Bill Spetch, to clarify something you said earlier about the leak. Is there any evidence of any leaks elsewhere in the stack other than the PRK? And just to clarify, inside that PRK, that you said the leak rate is very small, maybe almost immeasurable, if I understood you correctly. Is there some optimism that the repair the cosmonauts performed last month may have fixed this problem, at least for now? And my other questions for Steve Stitch or Fox. Looking ahead, you have a lot of flights on contract with SpaceX and Boeing, commercial crew rotation flights, but only really 4.5 years, 5 years of a life left in the ISS. So seems like you have more flights on contract than you'll be able to fly over the next 5 years, especially if you're stretching out increments out to 8 months. So, any discussion right now with Boeing or internally to talk about, maybe we don't need to give Boeing the authority to proceed the ATP for flights 4 through 6, since you may be covered with all your needs for the first 3 Starliners and everything you have at SpaceX. Thanks.
All right, yeah, I can start with the first one. It's pretty easy. The rest of the station is leak tight. We get to look at that. We continuously monitor that, and everything else shows that we are really tight on our leak rate on the rest of ISS. No evidence of any other cracks any other or any other places.
Yeah, and I'll start relative to looking at the flights. We have 14 flights on contract with SpaceX and 6 on the contract with Boeing, and 3 of those have been ATP'd, and we're sort of in the process as we better understand the budget and better understand what's in front of us. We're working through that. It's really too early to speculate how many flights we'll fly with each provider, SpaceX and Boeing. But we are looking at that, looking at the station life, and then we're also looking ahead toward commercial LEO and toward the commercial LEO destinations, and preserving transportation capability, both cargo and crew, for those destinations. So one of the things we've talked about is if we have capability at the end of station program, could we use those vehicles for COM LEO? And so those are the kind of discussions we're having. Right now we're taking it one step at a time, and the first step in front of us is Crew-11. So, And I'll see if Ken has anything to add.
No, nothing to add there, Steve. You got it.
Thank you very much for that. And we'll bring it back here in the room for one more question.
Marcus Harvey with Astropreneurs. This is either for Steve or Sarah. Could you explain a little more about the heat shield upgrades and why they were needed, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I can talk about that and see if Sarah has anything to add. So, you know, what we found with the heat shield is it's a very big composite piece, and it was very hard to manufacture, I would say. And it was as the components inside this heat shield, there's what's called a laminate. Think of that as the skin, if you will, of this big composite heat shield, and then inside there's various splices that get bonded in and add additional strength to the heat shield. It was a real struggle to manufacture and to get the strength right in various areas. So SpaceX, to their credit, went off and looked at could they build and design an easier to manufacture heat shield, and that's what they have done. It turns out because the other heat shield was a little harder to manufacture, sometimes we had to back off on the capability of the wind speed that we could land at. Now this newer heat shield has been built and it's been tested. In fact, what SpaceX does is they take the heat shield and put it through a test apparatus. They push on it, they pull on it, they subject it to all the kind of forces you'd see in flight. So it's fully qualified, and now we'll fly it for the first time on Crew-11. So it's an upgrade that I would say both gives us a little better capability for landing wind speed, and then also a little bit more structural capability, easier to build. And see if Sarah has anything to add.
Nope, you got it exactly right, Steve. Thanks.
Thank you very much for that question. We'll do one more here in the room, and then we'll finish up the remainder of our time on the phone bridge.
Thanks, Will Robinson Smith of Spaceflight Now again. Just to follow up on Marcia's Starliner question and your response, Steve. The flight early next year, has it been determined if that will have crew on board or strictly cargo, or what the status of that is? Thanks.
Yeah, we're still looking at that, whether to be a cargo flight or not. I think there's a lot of advantages, I would say, to flying a cargo flight first. If we really look at the history of Starliner and both Dragon, I think Dragon benefited a lot from having earlier flights before the crew contract was let for a space station for cargo. What we're really looking at is, can we test all the changes that we are making to the doghouses in particular on the ground, and would we want to validate those in flight first? And so there's a strong chance we'll fly a cargo flight first, and then we still haven't made that decision yet, but that's still in front of us.
Thank you very much for that, and we'll go back to our phone bridge. Again, we only have a couple more minutes left in our time today, so be sure to keep your questions brief. We'll start with Jonathan Siri with Fox News.
The Dragon Endeavor for this mission, does that change the estimates for loss of mission, loss of crew, and what are those current estimates?
I didn't hear the first part of the question. I think the question was, does the additional certification change the loss of crew numbers? Was that the question?
It does the upgrades to the drogue and also the heat shield to this Dragon. Does that change the estimates for loss of mission, loss of crew?
We haven't really totally looked at that number. I think the number is in the same range that we've had, and we can get that number for you. I don't remember it off the top of my head this morning, but certainly they are safety upgrades, improving crew safety, both of those, the heat shield and the drogue. I don't have off the top of my head what the improvement in.
Yeah, if I may, Steve, you guys have given us requirements for loss of mission, loss of crew, and Dragon has always been designed to meet those requirements. And similarly, we've been operating within the requirement space that NASA gave us for all of these systems on all the previous flights. The couple of upgrades we've been making more recently are purely improvements above and beyond that. So we don't go back and reopen those analyses of certifying the vehicle. It's more about moving in the right direction. And as you mentioned with the heat shield, a lot of those improvements aren't really about the flight itself, but about the manufacturability of the material or the ease of maintenance from one flight to the next.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Sarah, for that. And we'll finish up with one more question and one more answer. We'll go to Kenneth Chang with the New York Times.
Thank you. I wanted to follow up on Chris Davenport's question. How many people from the NASA teams on ISS and commercial crew are leaving? I wanted to make sure, are any of you leaving? And how do you manage that transition where a lot of people with the knowledge are no longer going to be there? And how do you backfill? Thank you.
Yeah, I would say we don't have a total number of people that have departed or will depart. Remember, all these projections are really after Crew-11. So for Crew-11, that mission's not affected at all by the departures. And in some cases, what I think we'll see is people that have been here for a long time and were planning to retire anyway may retire a little earlier. And so I'll say personally, I'm not planning on taking the DRPs. Although I'm sure some people encouraged me to take it. So.
And I want to offer to Mr. Bowersox if he had anything to add in terms of from SOMD.
I was just going to say I'm not planning to take any of the early retirement options either, although I'm getting close to that age, so nobody should be surprised when it happens. I also wanted to say that we have some tools as we're trying to manage the critical skills on the workforce. There are ways we can incentivize people to stay. We can ask people to delay their departure so that they can transfer their knowledge to other people. But I don't want to underexpress the fact that we are losing people and that we have folks that have been part of our team for a long time that are going. This is going to require us to take a different look at how we do our business, to focus our operation. That's kind of the good part of it is as this will cause us to work and be more efficient. But we're going to miss those people. They were part of our team, and we'll miss them as they go. But I have confidence that our team will work through this, and we'll stay strong.
Thank you very much. And that is all the time that we do have for today's mission news briefing as we get ready for the next crew rotational mission to the International Space Station and Crew-11 coming up very soon. Special thanks to Ken Bowersox and Steve Stitch and Bill Spetch joining us of NASA, Sarah Walker of SpaceX, and Mayumi Matsura of JAXA joining us along. Be sure to stick around and stay with us at 1 o'clock Central, 2 o'clock Eastern Time, a chance to speak with the crew themselves.
and talks about a horrific event that occurred. Oh, I've killed my mother and father, I've set the house on fire, I'm burning everybody up. Whatever they say causes a remarkable response of EMS, fire, and or law enforcement, and usually law enforcement. This epidemic has gotten so bad that we do not do a emergency response to something that is announced as being that horrific. We know by patterns and trends, the way they make the phone calls, that there's a 99.9% chance that it is a swatting call and not a real emergency. Our first fear is at some point in time, because there's been so much of this crying wolf through these swatting calls, that there will be a real emergency that needs a real response, and it won't get the appropriate response. And then there's always somebody goes, well, why don't you respond as an emergency to all of them? Because it puts law enforcement officers' lives at risk. It puts fire and EMS life at risk if they're called into the swatting incident. And it puts the homeowners at risk. Many times these calls come after the homeowners have gone to bed at night. So all of a sudden there's this big rapping on the door, and there's this police response. Well, you wake somebody up in Florida, Polk County, in the middle of the night with a big rap on the door, and it's more likely than not that the homeowner is going to have a gun in his hand on the other side of the door, which can end up a horrible event. So we go to the ends of the earth to solve these crimes, and my detectives, who are the very best, have done exactly that. This was not the most difficult one that we've ever worked, but let me share with you the arrest. Here's what makes these unique. Our suspects are 14 and 15 years of age, and I'm going to give their names, and some of you wimpy stations are going to blur it out, but just get ready to blur, because I'm going to do it. And they're from one, Syracuse, New York, and Hartford, Connecticut. So I applaud our Department of Juvenile Justice for their work, because they actually extradited them here after my detectives were able to get a warrant for their arrest. So get ready to blur, you wimpy stations, okay? Here's Isaiah Reyes. He's 14. He's from Syracuse, New York. And Carderi Martin, he's 15, and he's from East Hartford, Connecticut. And let me tell you what occurred. It started on June the 4th at about 7:50 in the evening. Our victim, who lives in the Davenport, Haines City area, was 12 years old, and he was playing a game with Cardi. And that's what he knew him as. He knew his name. These all are in the same gaming group. And for whatever reason, Cardi became mad with our victim, and once the game was over, he then created a swatting incident. He called the Haines City Police Department. Turned out it was in the unincorporated area, and Haines City sent it to us and said, you know, there's this shooting next door. I've heard it before, but it's really bad, and my mother said to call. And they're shooting, and they're shooting, and they're shooting guns. So, of course, we went there and determined immediately that it was a swatting incident. So the investigation's underway. Our detectives get involved in the case on the 4th of June and tell the parents of this victim, take his devices away from him, stop him from playing games online, because whether he won the game, whether he and the suspect got into an argument over the game, the bottom line is the victim was a victim because he was playing these games online and made someone mad. That doesn't give them the right to come back and violate the law, commit a second-degree felony and a third-degree felony by swatting. Well, lo and behold, on June the 5th, the very next day, there's another swatting incident to the same victim. This time, the call goes into the Kissimmee Police Department. Kissimmee determines, hey, that's in Polk County. notifies the sheriff's office. This was a more sinister call by Isaiah Reyes. What he said was this: my wife didn't cook dinner tonight. And because she didn't cook dinner tonight, and because she set my clothes on fire as a result of an argument, I've taken a shotgun and killed my wife and killed the children. And that's the kind of bizarreness we hear often. So, of course, we responded back to the residents. There's the victim. He's online playing with who we determined through the investigation as Isaiah Reyes. So we start following this case back. We tell the parents, what did we tell you yesterday? We told you to take your 12-year-old's devices away from them and stop them from playing online, because he is in arguments with people, and these folks, two of them back to back, decide they will SWAT his house. Now here's what we figure out as the investigation goes on. Because our 12-year-old has been gaming so long, he'd actually created a friendship with this guy. And this guy and his parents, or his parent, his dad, had actually come down here and interacted with the victim and his parent. So they were no strangers. But here's what's interesting. Because of their conduct, they committed this false report of a violent use of a firearm, which is a second-degree felony, and they created an unlawful use of a two-way device, which is a third-degree felony. And they're both of them, which this is what's remarkable. I thought New York, Connecticut will never be able to extradite from those two states. They're going to say, oh, because we think crime and criminals are okay, but you look at the crime rates up there and you'll see they'll never extradite. But I want to compliment New York and Connecticut. They respected our warrants. They respected our criminal justice system. Their system respected our system and made these two juveniles available. And we flew them back, and they're currently in custody now, waiting on court action in Bartow, Florida. But I want to share this with parents. Parents, your kids are online gaming, and then they get in these squabbles and fights. And then they decide that, hey, I'm going to SWAT and create stress and anxiety for the kid, for the parents, for whoever's at the house. This is a very, very dangerous event. There have been serious vehicle crashes with police officers and deputies rushing to scenes thinking they had a horrific immediate event. There have been all kinds of call-outs, EMS, fire, SWAT teams at some of these swatting incidents across the United States to find out they're fake. There's nothing to them. But you risk the law enforcement officers' lives, the paramedics, the firefighters' lives, and the victims in the house that more times than not are in bed asleep when this thing occurs. Parents, we need your help. Lock down the machines. Don't allow them to play games with people across the United States. If they want to play a game, let them play with their friend little Johnny next door, where you know the parents and they know you, and stop this online gaming that's leading to these horrible events. Now, we don't solve all of them because sometimes they're gaming overseas. Sometimes we are not able to determine who our people are because the gamers don't necessarily know each other. Fortunately, they did in this instance. But what's really remarkable about all of this is it can be stopped with responsible parents. And at the very least, why these emergency services are going to, we still go there and have to check it out, but why our resources are tied up doing this, checking out this false alarm, then we're not available to respond to real emergencies, to people who really need help, who really need deputies and police officers, firefighters, and paramedics. All of those units are all tied up. So help us. And once again, these young men and women get it. And the message I want to send to kids all across this nation is we'll come get your butt. We don't care where you are. You'll visit detention and lockup. Well, they took the device away on the second event, but not the first event. And to me, the first event would have been important. Now, I do want to point something out, that Cardi's parents were very concerned, totally cooperated, understood the gravity of the problem, and I suggest to you that the parents are going to step in and there's going to be some appropriate conduct by the parent to hold this kid accountable at home. Isaiah Reyes is totally different. His parents were aggressive, did not cooperate at all, gave our detectives a hard time. Oh, my little darling child wouldn't do that. Ding, ding, ding. Yes, he did. And he's held accountable. But I've got a message for Isaiah Reyes' parents. You need to quit acting like a friend and a defender and start acting like a parent, or this kid's going to have a lot more problems. He's still a young man. There's plenty of time to correct his mischievous behavior, but not cooperating, not holding him accountable, and attacking law enforcement officers who's having to discipline him through the system because you don't at home, you're just a knothead, and you need to be held responsible as well. But at this time, criminally, we don't have any charges against the parents. But it's abundantly clear that they need to take responsibility and raise that young man the right way.
Sheriff, how often do you guys have to deal with these types of swatting calls, and can you quantify or put a number?
Yeah, we could probably get the data for you, but it would not be uncommon to tell you weekly. I mean, it's almost every week. Okay? Anything else? Okay. Channel 10 wanted to know about Timothy Conrad. I want to introduce you to Timothy. He's 59 years of age, and I'm sure y'all use his picture since he's not a juvenile. He was on Highway 27 on the side of the road, and he was driving a Dodge Nitro that apparently had car trouble, and he turned on these red and blue lights. Where our deputies patrolling the area see what looks to be a law enforcement officer on the side of the road, so they stop to back him up and see what's happening. They get there, he's got K9 decals on the car, his lights are activated, they find out he's got a siren in the car, he's got a U.S. Marshal's license plate holder. And we ask him, hey, are you a deputy U.S. Marshal? Well, 29 years ago, a guy by the name of Frank Booth in Pennsylvania gave me a marshal's badge, and I'm a retired marshal. Retired. Well, you know, kind of semi-retired, I still kind of work. Well, are you a marshal or not? So he starts this kind of thing, and our deputies say to themselves, this is not squaring up. So we contacted our colleagues at the U.S. Marshal Service. They go, we have never heard of this dude. He's never worked for us. So we find that he's imitating a law enforcement officer. Then we find out that the license plate on his vehicle, even though it's registered to him, is not registered to the car it's on. Bad day. Can't do that. You got to go to jail. And in addition to that, if you've got a badge, and you've got credentials, and you turn blue lights on, and you tell us you're a law enforcement officer, there's additional charges. Then he said, well, I'm a fugitive recovery person, and he had credentials as a fugitive recovery person. Well, that didn't work so much either. So he went to jail, and we towed his car, and we took his blue lights and red lights as evidence. There you go. Timothy Conrad, you got to experience the criminal justice system from the inside out instead of from the outside in. Okay? Thank you all very much. Have a good day. Keep the people in Texas in your prayers. That's a horrible, horrible event of monumental proportions. And we all who are in the business can tell you that as horrible as that looks on television, it pales in comparison to what it's really like when you're there on the ground with it at the time. Television can't do it just cause. It was a terrible, terrible event. All right. Thank you all very much. It's good to see you all again. Take care. Bye-bye.
35 News Plus this morning at this hour, 11 o'clock here in Central Florida. Just getting news that a federal judge has blocked Trump's birthright citizenship ban. This is a federal judge in New Hampshire saying that he's going to certify a class action lawsuit that includes all children who would be affected by the president's executive order that would end birthright citizenship. Plans to issue a preliminary injunction blocking it. This was an announcement made at the end of an hour-long hearing today. As we understand it, this judge is expected to issue a written order later today that will have some more details on this. Obviously, expect the federal government, the Trump administration, to appeal this decision. Now, this comes shortly after the Supreme Court of the United States kind of took issue with some of the previous injunctions and the way things had been done with that. And so from federal district court judges in this specific case, when it comes to birthright citizenship, not this specific case out of New Hampshire, but with this specific issue, I should say, didn't rule on the merits of the birthright citizenship case and kind of leaves that door open. So still a lot of questions about what this means, where things go from here. We will continue to track this throughout the day, but wanted to get you that breaking news just into our newsroom that a federal judge has blocked Trump's birthright citizenship ban, and this applies to all infants impacted by that order. So we will continue to track that throughout the day. Well, good morning and welcome to Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Weimer, and thanks for joining us here live on Fox Local and on YouTube. I want to let you know some of what we've got going on for you over this next hour and give you a live look right now at downtown Orlando and Lake Eola there. Beautiful start to the day here on this Thursday. We'll have your latest forecast coming up in just a little bit. We are also going to have the story of 4 rare dolphins recently rescued in Clearwater. They were just introduced today at Clearwater Marine Aquarium and got the chance to meet them. We will introduce you to them coming up a little bit later in the show. Last night, residents in Brevard County had the chance to voice some of their worries and concerns about Starship, the SpaceX Starship that is expected to move to the Space Coast. There was a public hearing last night, a lot of public comment in that. We will hear some of what the folks are worried about coming up in just a little bit. We also heard from 2 Central Florida congressmen who are in town today, U.S. Representatives Maxwell Frost and Darren Soto, speaking today in Orlando just a little bit ago, talking about their concerns over Medicaid cuts and what that means for folks in the community. So we will hear from them in just a little bit. But we begin this morning with Kissimmee Police Chief speaking this morning and marking 100 days since he took that office. He replaced an interim chief who replaced the previous chief who resigned. You may remember back in October, all kind of amid this fallout from a use of force incident and botched investigation into that. 13 members of the police department ended up facing disciplinary action in connection with that incident. We learned recently that 3 resigned, 4 were fired, 2 demoted, 3 suspended, and 1 was exonerated. So the new police chief, Charles Broadway, previously the police chief in Claremont, he spoke today marking this 100 days, talking about some new initiatives in place, talking about a focus on transparency and kind of rebuilding that trust and relationship with the community there in Kissimmee. Here is some of what the Chief Broadway had to say in his remarks just a few minutes ago.
The city of Kissimmee, as your chief of police for the past 100 days. Time definitely flies. From the very beginning, I made a commitment to lead with purpose, guided by the belief that leadership is not just about words or titles. Leadership is not about these stars on my collar. It's about actions and decisions that uplift others, encourage others, inspire others, challenge others, help others become better. Together with the men and women of the Kissimmee Police Department, we have embraced a shared mission rooted in 3 pillars. Number 1 is building a culture of trust, accountability, and officer well-being, ensuring that we prioritize the overall well-being and health and wellness of our personnel, strengthening community partnerships through community policing and engagement, understanding that we are more effective when we work together with our community to reduce crime, prevent crime, and enhance quality of life for all. And then our number one priority is providing the highest level of public safety to ensure safe cities, to ensure a safe city and safe communities. These are the blueprints of how we show up every single day and every single night. Over the past 100 days, we've laid a stronger foundation for the future, driven by transparency, innovation, and community-centered policing. An effective department begins from within. It's with a culture that supports its personnel, supports its people, along with demanding integrity. In our first 100 days, we are launching Readiness to Lead, a leadership training initiative for all personnel serving in supervisory roles. This role will be an engaging, hands-on workshop focused on key leadership competencies essential for navigating today's challenges in law enforcement and public safety. We promoted 9 members of the department to leadership ranks, from corporal to sergeant, lieutenant, captain, deputy chief, a record supervisor, demonstrating our belief in developing and nurturing talent from within. I hired a new assistant police chief, expanding our leadership team and bringing fresh vision and operational expertise. We expanded access to overall wellness programs, including mental health resources, peer support networks, physical wellness opportunities, and we are starting a new chaplaincy program. Interesting fact, studies have shown that the average person experiences 3 to 5 critical incidents in their lifetime, whereas a law enforcement officer could experience more than 100 critical incidents over their career. As law enforcement leaders, it is incumbent upon each and every one of us to continue to prioritize and value the overall health and wellness of our personnel. We will also be swearing in real soon a therapy dog and issuing a therapy dog the oath of office. Therapy dogs have been known to reduce heightened short-term anxiety following a critical incident. These dogs have also been proven to effectively help first responders manage long-term post-traumatic stress. Our therapy dog will also help us enhance our community engagement efforts within our community as well. I'm a firm believer in healthy agencies cultivate healthy officers who in turn build healthy communities. We've reviewed and updated internal accountability processes to ensure consistent standards are upheld with clarity and fairness. Policing is most effective when it is highly visible and collaborative and rooted in trust. In these first 100 days, we have created new opportunities for community engagement, community interaction, including our first ever inaugural Hoops with Heroes youth basketball camp, which will be held at the end of July, reaffirming our commitment to youth membership or youth mentorship and youth engagement to ensure that our children's first interaction with law enforcement is one of a positive one and that's lasting. We will be teaching our young kids fundamentals in basketball, but also fundamentals in life and leadership and character and good morals. From newsletters to Coffee with a Cop to Cram the Cruiser and other neighborhood-based outreach efforts. Our Citizens Police Academy is starting September 3rd of this year to afford community members an opportunity to get inside look of what our men and women do every single day to serve and to protect this community. I'm assured that you will be impressed in what you see during the Citizens Academy. We've increased our presence in neighborhoods and at civic events and local forums and faith-based organizations, continuing to build strong community relationships that help prevent crime before it even occurs. We gained approval from the City Commission to establish a police oversight board, reinforcing our department's commitment to transparency and police accountability. We will produce an annual report, which will be released January of 2026. This annual report will be a snapshot and an overview of the calendar year of 2025. It will contain public education and awareness, crime tips, awards and recognition of our men and women, crime stats, use of force incidents for the year of 2025, and the conclusion or the disposition of those use of force incidents. It will also entail the number of complaints that come into our agency, as well as the disposition of those complaints. Again, just being more and more transparent with our community. At the core of our mission, the number one priority will always be keeping Kissimmee safe for every resident, business owner, and visitor. In our first 100 days, we have implemented smarter, data-driven patrols, intelligence-led policing, high crime areas to increase visibility and improve response times. We continue to strengthen our collaboration with the state attorney's office to ensure effective prosecution of criminal offenses. We revamped our plainclothes unit to really enforce drug activity and illegal drug trafficking. We are going to partner with the Osceola County Sheriff's Office and St. Cloud Police Department to act as a force multiplier to proactively address illegal narcotic sales, prostitution, and human trafficking. We are launching a new drone program to enhance our investigative capabilities, increase our situational awareness, assist us in identifying and apprehending those wanted for crimes, as well as locating endangered and missing children and adults. We've enhanced our officer readiness and tactical training, including expanding crisis intervention, de-escalation training techniques and practices to ensure that our officers respond with professionalism and show empathy. This is just the beginning. We are building something together, something worthy of our trust that our community places in us. I remain committed to continue the momentum set in motion, set by my predecessor, Robert Anzueto from the Orange County Sheriff's Office, and involving our department to meet the needs of a growing, vibrant city. The Kissimmee Police Department will continue to lead with transparency, be accountable to our community, be accountable to one another, and show up with integrity and purpose every single day and every.
And you heard a number of new initiatives and procedures, some policies and those kinds of things in place, some steps being taken there that he outlined in his first 100 days there. We're going to take a quick break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we will be right back with more after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. We appreciate you joining us. I'm Garrett Weimer, and good to see you on this Thursday morning. We heard from a couple of Florida congressmen this morning, Congressman Maxwell Frost, a Democrat from Florida's 10th District, and Congressman Darren Soto as well, a Democrat who represents Florida's 9th District. They were holding a roundtable this morning at Orange Blossom Family Health in Orlando and talking about their concerns about the impact from the big beautiful bill recently passed by the legislature, by Congress, specifically talking today about what Medicaid cuts mean for these federally qualified health centers that provide care to Central Floridians, specifically those who are on Medicaid. They said they are concerned about folks losing access to health care. They are concerned that some of these cuts could lead to these local clinics shutting down as well. They held a roundtable discussion and were talking about a number of their concerns about that, saying that they believe maybe nearly 2 million Floridians could lose health care with those cuts scheduled to hit in 2027. They also, we had the chance to speak with them before that roundtable one-on-one. They also talked about the alligator Alcatraz and an upcoming visit this weekend. Here's Congressman Soto and Frost.
And right now we're here at Orange Blossom, one of our great federally qualified health centers. At these health centers, they're going to see disproportionately people who are on Medicaid and people who are uninsured. And so in many cases, a lot of these clinics, the way they're able to operate is because of programs like Medicaid. And so we came here to speak with the folks who run this one, but also other ones across the district and across Central Florida to know what the impact is going to look like for our people here.
Once hearing their voices, you're going to go back to where you put laws into order and that type of stuff. Will there be like future things that we can do to help in those situations?
Yeah, the hope is that we can take this information, and this is what our office does all the time. We host roundtables with people directly impacted. We'll hear about their stories, hear about the impact. We take this information, bring it to DC, either write laws or figure out how we can bring back money to help solve the problem. This is a really huge bill, right? 17 million people losing health care.